Are you a professional perfectionist?
What's your plan right now? And is it actually taking you to where you want to go?
Well, Laura and I have been chatting recently about AI and the future of AI. And there's a lot of questions around that. And there seems to be a few concerns around it too. And Laura has very graciously agreed to be a little bit vulnerable on this episode to share what her thoughts and questions and concerns are. Now, we're going to have a bit of a coaching conversation and we're just going to see where it goes because neither of us really knows. So, thank you, Laura, for agreeing to be in this space. And I'm going to joke that this is confidential because there's only 20,000 people listening and downloading. But thank you for taking this opportunity to explore this really important topic that is probably on a lot of people's minds.
Hey there, sorry for the interruption, but if you're a woman entrepreneur ready to raise your profile, expand your reach, and start being seen as the expert you already are, we have a challenge for you. Vicki and I have created a free guide called the LinkedIn to Latte Method. Check it out in the link below. It's designed especially for women who are done playing small and are ready to attract opportunities, clients, and increase your visibility. No tech overwhelm, no awkward call DMs, just clear, authentic strategy that works. So download the free LinkedIn to Latte guide below, take the challenge, and start turning your brilliance into real opportunities. Now, back to the episode. Thank you, Vicki. I'm going to pretend like it's just you and I having our conversations today, as we do often, because I'm very lucky to have you as a business partner, so that we take the time to just chat about things that concern us. And, in a space of entrepreneurship, which you and I are so passionate about, everyone is talking about AI and how it's going to change things. And there's definitely a lot of positives. I really can see some of the advantages. I mean, I'm on ChatGPT every day. It's been so helpful for so many things that I've done or questions that I've had. I've used it in so many different ways. Even when I was going through some grief, a couple of months ago, and I just kind of needed someone to talk to, I spoke to ChatGPT, and it was incredibly good, a little scary good. But I have been having some concerns lately about how we show up authentically as us in a world that feels incredibly less authentic. Every other ad I'm seeing, you can tell, is a generated video bots of somebody talking, and scrolling social media feels like a sea of fake ads just because certain words, how they're pronounced a certain way, and they're being pronounced in a weird way, and you're like, you just tell it's an AI voice, and it's cringy, and I just don't like it. And, you hear stories about how people are building whole platforms and whole social media accounts that's completely fake, but they're getting such great numbers so quickly, and they're monetizing them, right? And making money being fake. And I just have such a hard time with this, because where are the ones like us who are real and passionate and flawed and imperfect and question our abilities sometime and question our expertise sometime? Doesn't even matter how many years you have been working in a field, you never feel like you know everything, right? So you feel like, how can I compete with things that are all-knowing, right? How can I still show up as me and be considered an expert in my field if I'm competing with something that's going to be 10x smarter than me in a few months, right? Like, so there's all of that comes up, and it feels heavy, and it feels, and I don't have any answers. And that's the part I find really difficult right now.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I can see that it is causing you some concern. And what I'm hearing is this comparison, this need to compete with the unknown,
Mm.
and that, yeah, is so. What would you say is the the real essence of that? Is it that you are worried about competing against AI because you think it's smarter and faster and you don't have, is it this competing part of it that stresses you, or is it the unknown part of it? Or tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because I never thought of it as the competing part until just now and kind of bringing that up. The unknown, I think, is always where fear comes for most people, definitely me included, because, when you don't know, how do you react, right? You just don't know what to do, how to react, what you should be worried about or not, because it's just too unknown. And I think for a long time, for the last like 3 years since ChatGPT was released, I think it's been more of excitement, like, wow, what can this cool new toy do, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know when it flipped over. I think it was more in the rise of like the video stuff, like the video of real looking people talking, speaking with inflection, and they don't sound so robotic anymore. I think
Mm.
that when that kind of came, which is more recent, that's where some fear started bubbling up. Like, what is this? Like, and the deep fakes and all of that, and as people like you and I who have a YouTube channel, like somebody could fake us really easily and pretend to be us. That's scary. That's terrifying. Is that stopping people from raising their profile? Like, is it stopping others from wanting to be visible? Like, are people going to want to hide rather than show up? Do I want to hide rather than show up? But I know that
Yeah,
if
but
I hide, yeah, like that's gonna obviously tank our business. We can't. Like our business is showing up. It's showing up for other people so that they can show up for themselves. So that we know that's not the case. But then,
so
how do I continue to help people? How do I continue to be, the expert that people want to go to when, yeah, I guess the competition with AI is terrifying because how can I be good as a machine? you know, I can't do math as fast as my calculator. I never could. I gave up on that, in what, fourth grade? So, like,
yeah,
I guess there's maybe some of that bubbling
I'd
up. Like,
love to talk about that. Let's have a look at that. You raised a beautiful point just as a moment. Your calculator. So, did you ever have fear around not being able to keep up with your calculator?
no, because I was a kid. No, definitely. Like I looked at it as like this is a great new tool. Awesome. I was never that good at math, so I could do less math.
I
It was
love
a
it.
good thing for me.
Right. Now, I
Absolutely.
wonder if there's any part of that approach, that mindset that you can bring into today's world. Let's first have a look at what you can change and what you can't change. Do you have control over the direction of AI or the speed of it?
No, of course not. No, none of us do. And maybe that lack of control is a bit of where that comes up. Where that fear comes up because there is no control and because we don't know what it's the end result is going to be. And there's always I try not to doom scroll. I really,
Yeah.
really try to very carefully protect
Let
my
me
mind from a lot of the conspiracy theories and all that stuff because I don't want to go there.
let me ask you a question. Out of this sea of worry that I'm hearing, what from that can you control?
My response, of course. Yeah, I can control how I respond to it. Um,
What else?
part of my problem is how I respond to most things is more research. I sort of have that mindset if you can't make a decision, gather more information, right? I've always kind of been that way. I think my mom taught me that many years ago. It's good
Yeah,
advice.
it's very
However,
resourceful. And
yeah,
then I guess it depends on what kind of research you're doing and where you're going for your research, because you'll find both positive and negative, good and bad. Yeah.
exactly.
And so you may be, what we fear is what we tend to look for, thinking that we're protecting ourselves. Well, if I can protect myself from this thing I'm scared of by finding other evidence, but then you'll keep finding evidence that's actually driven by your fear, because you're familiar with this concept that what we think about is what we attract more of. If you're thinking about buying a red car, you're going to start seeing red cars everywhere, right? It's just how the human brain works. So if we're scared of something, we're looking to protect ourselves, we're actually so focused on the thing we're scared of that we see more of it. Have you noticed that happening?
Yeah, because you can fall into negativity bias so easily. And I know we're wired that way. But even when you know these things, it's still hard not to end up there,
Yeah, it
right?
is. It's really, yeah, it is. It takes conscious effort, doesn't it? So there's a couple of things I'm hearing is, what can you do to embrace uncertainty in your world around AI or around other things as well? Because we talk about resilience a lot on our other podcast episodes. What can you do to bring more resilience into your world around this topic?
That's a really, I wish I had an easy answer to that question. I wish it was like, you know, just get some more sleep because you're not sleeping enough, which is causing you to spiral. I wish I could say like I knew a simple solution for such a complex thing.
What
But
if
I
it wasn't
do,
complex?
if it wasn't complex, she can't avoid it. So there's no just like get offline and stop reading and stop researching. Because I also believe in knowing, like I'd rather have the knowledge than not to prepare maybe.
Yeah.
Talking like this helps a whole lot. Having good conversations, I think, is really important for me because I need to talk out a lot of these things. So
Yeah.
thank you for the space to do so today.
What if it wasn't complex? What might you do to feel better about this situation that you can't personally change?
I mean, I think what I should be doing is spending more time worrying about what I can do and worrying about ways to like beef up our business and be more like personally successful and like shore up my own defenses, I guess. Why do I feel like I have to defend? I don't know. It feels like a bit of a battle. I'm wondering, like, do you feel this way? Like I feel like there's a bit of a battle to like fight for yours, fight for ours, maybe fight for my family, maybe fight for my kids. How do I, why do I feel that way? I'm not really exactly sure. I don't know. I don't really have the answer to your question.
I wonder if you didn't have to defend anything, what would you do differently?
I'd probably I'd probably relax into it more and I'd want to play with it more. I'd feel more curious about it rather than worried, which would be a much better way to understand anything is curiosity rather than fear. Because that switches it from the fear to the love, right? Curiosity can be loving, and curiosity can just be open and can just be like, let me learn more, let me understand more so that I can do more positive things and use things in more positive ways.
And what would that give you if you did that?
Probably more confidence to just talk about it more, to go into it more, to just, yeah, step into myself in a stronger way. And maybe I want to reach out to more experts. Maybe I want to get, other opinions rather than finding any of the doomsday stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to collect information, isn't it? It's great to feel like you know more about something and to go deeper. There's two ways to research, right? There's narrow and deep, or there's wide and shallow. And I'm curious about what's the quality of the input? What's the quality that you get back when you go wide and narrow versus, I mean, wide and shallow versus narrow and deep? Um, or perhaps you do a bit of both. So, yeah, do you feel like this is something you could do? Is to lead with more curiosity and focus on the things that you can control, the things that you want to. What do you want for your business in an AI world?
I want to be able to use AI in ways that are helpful to others. That's what I want AI to be. I want it to be helpful, right? I want it to solve problems.
What does that look like for you in your business?
I don't know. I think that's part of it. Like, I don't know what I want to build with it. Like, I don't know how I want to use it. And maybe that's the problem. That's the thing I haven't figured out yet. It's like, how do we use AI to really level up our business and be better and help more people and have greater impact? Because I know there are ways to, and people are starting to figure it out. I don't know if anybody's completely 100% figured any of it out yet, which is good news because then it feels like, it's still early days.
It is early
It,
days, isn't it? And I wonder
yeah,
what there is to figure out.
yeah, I
It's
don't
just a
know.
thing.
Hmm.
It's just like when the internet came. There's no end goal, there's no result. It's part of the journey, isn't it? It's just another internet.
I think that's exactly what it is. Like, I'm so driven to want to be on the forefront of it. Like, I'm so driven to want to be like the people that created the first apps for the smartphone, right? The people who were there first, the people who were creating the first websites, the people who were like the first in line for the thing, figuring it out early. I think I like being that pioneer. I like
Beautiful.
being in that space of exploration and creation and building. We've talked about it before, Vicki and I. We like to build and create the new thing. As hard as it is to not chase a shiny object sometimes, but I think that's it. It's just there's just so much unknown. We really don't know what we don't know yet. And I think the difference between this time than any other time in history is the speed of it all. Because the Industrial Revolution changed, farming and agriculture drastically, but nowhere near at this rate of speed.
Were you there in the Industrial Revolution?
I probably was not. I just like a little bit
So-
of history. No, my
I love
parents.
I love the history reference and it's so relevant and accurate. And yet I'm curious how speed, the speed of this is impacting you. You didn't experience the previous speed, yet you're using it as a reference for something to be worried about the speed of this. So tell me more about how that speed of AI development impacts you today.
Wonder if it's like a fear of being left behind. And I think thinking about it in this way, it may have something to do with my age. I'm not 18, 20, 25. You know what I mean? At the early stages of career where, you have the most no responsibilities and all the grit and time, to really like get into it and run with it. There's definitely something that comes with being older and having more responsibilities and being on sort of the later stage of my career where I want to be the impact maker. I want to be the expert. I want to be, the trusted advisor on things. And yet I feel this speed of this new technology is a little bit hard to keep up with the 25-year-olds who are running with it. So is that part of it? Maybe a little bit. Why I'm feeling a bit of like anxiety around it or worry around it. Generally, a little part of my personality is just to be an overthinker. So I know that I'm probably overthinking tremendously about
Are we
this.
trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist?
Ah, but then you're
No,
like, yeah, it's
it's playing on your
solving
mind.
an unknown thing, and it feels impossible yet like impossible to ignore at the same time. If you just
Yeah.
ignore it, it's not going away. It's not
Yeah.
gonna,
Yeah,
right?
that's just putting your head in the sand, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do
So
that.
yeah, and I think it's a valid perspective where you are looking at what other people are doing versus what you're doing and what you want to do. And again, there's a level of comparison or
Sure.
competition against another set. I mean, we could compare ourselves to the late Steve Jobs. We could compare ourselves to Musk. I mean, who else could we compare ourselves to? Um, I don't know. Do you worry about not being as fast and smart and advancing as Elon Musk?
No. I don't want I don't want any part of that type of level of
I'm curious
world.
why you choose this set of people.
Uh, no, it's not them, I think. I don't think I compare myself to them at all. And I don't want to be a massive tech, like
Yeah,
billionaire. No part of that is interesting or of interest to me at all.
yeah.
I want to be I want to be successful in a space where I can really make impact. And I don't need to be a billionaire. I don't even need to be a, 100 millionaire. I mean, tens of millions, sure. I'm good with that.
Yeah,
But,
I hear you.
I know my enough. What do they say? A king that knows their limits rules a lifetime. Yeah, I'm good with my limits. I know the type of business I want to build. I know the type of industry I want to be in. I know that marketing is key to all of business. I know that entrepreneurs are going to be more important going forward, and people are going to be able to be entrepreneurs easier going forward than ever before because the
People or
tools
you?
available. I'm just saying people in general because I want to support those people.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the point I want to make. Like, I want to be the one making impact and supporting those entrepreneurs and helping them get there faster. And they have more tools than ever before. So I believe there are going to be more entrepreneurs than ever before in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I want to be able to help them and understand and know and, and all of that. So I think it's all the
Express.
just unknown and that's just bubbling up all these emotions around this time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The unknown can create uncertainty, right? And certainty is one of the six core needs for all humans. We all need certainty in our life at some point, right? We need certainty and we also need variety. They're the opposite ends of the same spectrum. This is
Wow.
Tony Robbins' work. It's been out there for years and it holds true in every situation. We all need certainty and we also all need variety. And embracing uncertainty is something that can be trained, right? And
Hmm.
it requires conscious thought and conscious direction to embrace uncertainty. And I'm certain there are other areas in your life where you do embrace uncertainty naturally. Can you think of any that, as a single mom, working several jobs, well, your own business, a
I
couple
think
of
just being,
businesses, your kids' business, like you're
uh-huh.
juggling three businesses, building them, plus being an amazing daughter and family member. So, share with me just two or
Yeah.
three things where you embrace uncertainty wholeheartedly.
Oh, wow. I'm glad that you said it like that and stated it like that because I wouldn't have thought of it like that. But I realized like my life for the last 13 years has been an uncertain roller coaster. And it's not I don't know if I always embrace it. Sometimes, it definitely hits me hard and it's difficult to deal with. And I don't always like it. But I've also known that and it comes from experience, right? Like after a roller coaster goes down, it goes back up again. And then it may go down again and it might go back up and it might do a loop de loop on you or it might end up upside down. Like, but that's just being in this world. That's being an entrepreneur. It is gonna always be a roller coaster. So have I had to embrace it? Yeah, it's true. And things work out, I think, if you've got enough resilience to just decide they're gonna work out, right? Yeah, you can give up and throw in the towel. And there was definitely a time period that I almost gave up entrepreneurship. I was about 3 years in, and it felt really hard. And I was about to become a single mom, and for the first time, and I didn't know if being an entrepreneur was the right path for me. And I went on a journey of applying for jobs and, trying to find a safe, secure job. And thankfully, life worked out the way it did. And I ended up staying on the entrepreneurial path, which, I am grateful for all the time. I'm so grateful. I wouldn't have this freedom and exactly, I have evidence of the fact that this uncertain ride was the right one to take, as difficult as, it can be.
And you have evidence that you can get through these things and that there's more uncertainty coming. Because just as you've been through uncertainty and then you survive and thrive it, oh, look, there's another corner, you turn it, and there's more uncertainty about something completely different. So I wonder if this is any different to that.
Yeah, it probably isn't. It's probably just a bit of the down slope of the roller coaster. Where there's a little worry, things are changing, the markets are changing, economies are shifting, trust in everything is shifting, and that probably just feels like we're in a bit of a valley of a lot of that, and I'm definitely feeling it. I think I'm very sensitive and empathetic to it, so when others are there, I feel it too,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. And it's a beautiful quality to have, isn't it? To be able to empathize with others. And what resources did you have within you in other times of uncertainty that helped you feel better about the situation, even if it still existed?
Well, I've known it's always been talking about stuff. I tend to be in my head a lot, in general. So I'll allow things to tick around in my head for a really long time. And then often it's when I get some coaching, get some therapy, or even just really spend the time talking to, a mentor or, a trusted friend, that it changes things, because often it's needing another perspective. That's what I know. It's needing
Yeah.
another perspective. So that's, even just having this conversation today is helping me kind of get a little more clarity and a better perspective on it. And even just recognizing it that maybe we're just sort of in the valley of the coaster and knowing that the coaster always goes back up again. We don't know when necessarily, but we know it always does. So it's kind of like riding it through, holding on, like keeping to really go with the analogy, keeping the guardrails around you with a seatbelt on
And
and
scream loud.
scream, cry a
Into
little,
the air.
hold on to your friend, whatever. Yeah, that's kind of I think that's what gets me through. I know it has been what has gotten me through in the past, and it will do so again.
I love that for you. It sounds like an adventure. It sounds like a
Mm,
ride.
thanks for that reframe. We're on a ride. We're on an adventure.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
isn't it true that the world is always uncertain? There's always, I mean, come on, we have that expression, we make plans and God laughs. We can only create so much certainty in our life, and the more comfortable we become with uncertainty, the more resilient we are. The less it bothers us, the less it changes our direction. Because as you've already said, you acknowledge for yourself that you would like to focus on the things that will strengthen your business, the ways that you can use AI to support you to do great things in the world and have great impact for entrepreneurs. And you
Yeah.
have all of that available to you. And perhaps the more you focus on that, the more it will become your reality.
Yeah. I like that. That's what I need to do. Shift the focus a little. Thanks for this opportunity to shift the perspective a little bit on this topic that I know is, I'm not the only one in the world thinking this and worrying about this, but
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like you are, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
it feels like you are because you haven't necessarily heard other people talking about it. And maybe it's just something we need to talk about more, of the things that are worrying us because it's normal. It's normal and natural to have these thoughts and feelings. And yeah, thank you, Vicky. I'm very lucky to have you on my side, in my corner, as my partner, as an incredible entrepreneur coach. So yeah, thanks. That was
Oh,
great.
yeah. So, yeah, what one thing will you do differently after this conversation?
My key takeaway is definitely I need to build my resilience up when I'm starting to feel like this. And good ways to do that is to talk with experts like you about it, right? Because holding it in for so long didn't help. Um, but having these conversations so that I can start shifting perspectives and changing it into how can I turn something I'm worried about into something that I can help others with, right? Because
I love that. Powerful.
yeah. And realizing that, just talking it through, like for me, one of my core principles, one of the most important things is to have impact and help others. So I can't sit in this valley and not do anything about it. I've got to work on that upswing myself. So that's what I'm going to focus on, that shift in perspective.
That's so powerful. I love that for you. And I'm going to offer you one tiny little more thing is when you think about you should do or you need to, is there another word you could use for yourself?
I get to. Yeah. Heard that recently. So yeah, stop saying you should do something. Say, I get to. Oh, I get to do this. So I should go do this. Oh, I get to do this because I'm physically able, I'm capable, I'm mentally, able, like driven to. Exactly. It's important. Yeah. So I get to do this thing rather than I should do this thing because should feels heavy and, we shouldn't should on ourselves. Like you said,
Exactly.
I
I
heard you
love
say
that.
before,
Yeah.
don't should on yourself. Yeah.
Good
I
on
get
you.
to.
Beautiful. So you get to do all this wonderful work to support other entrepreneurs, to embrace AI and the uncertainty that it brings, and to create your own reality using the very thing that is advancing at an exponential rate, which will help everyone advance for the good, if that's how we use it.
Exactly.
Good on you. You're awesome. And our clients are so lucky to have you with
Ditto.
this level of focus on the future and on what's possible. Because the more you think about those things, the more you're giving to our clients, as
I
they
hope
may
so.
not quite be thinking about those things, or they're already thinking about those things and they want a partner in arms to do that with. So good on you.
Thanks, partner. I hope so. I hope so because it is important. And thank you for being an awesome entrepreneur coach because, yeah, all of us entrepreneurs need coaching. Thanks.
Let's do it more often.